current trend, flash in the pan, or meme game. Call it what you want, but it's a known phenomenon. A game very, very popular right now, thanks to streaming. Cult of the Lamb right now is very much all of those things, but for good reasons. All the gameplay footage you're going to see in this video is from my own personal live streams of this game, and we'll get to why that is. At its core, Cult of the Lamb is a roguelike. The story is that you play as a lamb, making a pact with a captive demon to restore him to power by running through various randomized dungeons to kill the 4 other demons that put him there. Every single time you enter a dungeon, you are given a random weapon and a random spell to use. Combat has you going from room to room, clearing out every enemy to open up the path forward. Much like other roguelikes, you'll find special relics, in this case tarot cards, that will enhance you for the duration of the dungeon attempt. These are also random, and you can unlock more that will show up in each run. The combat is competent, if a bit basic. You have a single attack button and a dodge roll. Depending on the weapon you get, you'll have different weapon swing animations and speeds, and the dodge roll gives generous amounts of invincibility to get away from enemy attacks. One of the main issues I had is that all weapon swings only animate going to the left or the right. So if you're running up or down and attack, it still looks like you're swinging horizontally. This makes connecting with your weapon a bit nebulous at times. The swings do have a wider arc than it lets on, but there will be times where it feels off, missing when you shouldn't be. Thankfully, the game isn't overly difficult. I was playing on hard, as the developer recommended normal difficulty setting I found was a bit too easy. I generally had no issue getting to any dungeon's boss at the end. These bosses shine through, especially with the somewhat light enemy variety. They provide ample challenge and learning patterns and are fun to fight. There is a bit of a difficulty spike with the final boss of the 3rd dungeon though. I did have some camera issues with these fights. There are moments, particularly during boss fights or even some standard very large rooms, that the camera stays pulled way back to show the entirety of the combat space. Whenever this happened, I could not tell what was going on. I had trouble seeing my character, if my attacks were reaching or facing the right way, or if there are any projectiles coming. Combat is pretty good though. I do wish there was more nuance between the weapons, as they're essentially all just different attack speeds and a hammer, but it's solid, and exploring every room for as many upgrades as possible is fine. However, arguably, that isn't the main gameplay mechanic. What Cult of the Lamb does differently is in regards to the cult that you foster. Between your dungeon runs, you return to your cult of loyal followers. Here, you do numerous tasks alongside them to raise their faith and devotion, which in turn powers you up for your dungeon runs. While in these dungeons, you can find followers that will be added to your cult. They'll carry out orders for you all the time, including while you're in the dungeon. You can assign them to build structures to do things such as get more faith, generating more money, farming, or praying to your totem. Ultimately, what this all amounts to is leveling up different resources, such as faith and devotion or whatever, which allows you to unlock perks and talents down a talent tree. One talent tree unlocks better buildings for you for better power-ups and resources. Another talent tree will make it so that you get stronger weapons and magic, so on and so forth. However, to do all this, it means keeping your cult happy, healthy, and alive. They need beds to sleep in, to be taken care of when they're sick, to be fed meals, and to clean up all of their vomit and poop. It's more of a colony sim, and it's great. They'll be workers for you, and you need to use them wisely to get the power-ups you need to do better in dungeons. I had several working lumber mills and mining for stone. Others would venture out and find some money to spend. Many would just be praying to the totem. Each follower also has different traits. They'll sometimes give you specific requests to carry out, or they'll lose faith in you. And if they stick around long enough, they'll grow old and die. This makes prioritizing what resources you need in your dungeon runs more important than just killing whatever boss. While you're out there and seeing the branching pathways, you'll be able to acquire more lumber, stone, food, money, or additional followers while you're out. You can even say it's a little bit like Animal Crossing, because you can also just do all kinds of decorating and making pathways and having a nice looking cult that you can really call home. It's awesome. I find this to be the most enjoyable part of the game. I love the building and management stuff more than the fighting. Of course, this brings up what is getting Cult of the Lamb so much attention right now. The Twitch integration. Like I said at the start, all of the gameplay footage you're seeing is from my own stream of the game at twitch.tv/ProJared. You can completely customize any new follower that joins your cult, from choosing their name, their color, or even picking what adorable animal they'll be. With Twitch integration, viewers from the chat can do it directly and interact with the game. Chat can also give boons of assistance or harm the streamer, and sometimes give a boost in resources. All of this Twitch integration stuff, this is a marketing gimmick. It's a brilliant one, it's working, it's why it's being played so much all over Twitch and by myself, but it's purely a marketing gimmick and not an integral part of the game. And that's the most important thing I want to be clear on. None of the Twitch stuff is needed or necessary to enjoy the game. It's not a game for just streamers. You don't need to have hundreds of people in your chat for it to work. It's still very fun, very enjoyable, and at times addicting just playing offline by yourself. You can still play this, name all the animals, and have fun with it. There are other small things to love about it. I really like the stylistic visuals, as the aesthetic of every animal, or even just the text from bosses, is very pleasing. Also, this has some banger music. It's easy to get sidetracked entirely taking care of the homestead or going to the numerous side areas with mini games, thanks to some really smooth jams playing at all times. Cult of the Lamb is 2/3 colony sim, 1/3 roguelike. It strikes a good balance of doing either or, never tiring itself of either portion lasting too long in any given situation. I love the building, the decorating, and sometimes making my followers participate in sacrificial rituals. I generally like the combat and the exploration, even if it isn't amazing. Cult of the Lamb earns an 8 out of 10. It may have found legs thanks to streamers, but it's very fun and very much worth checking out for anyone who is a fan of roguelike games. And if you're not, well, then you can come to my Twitch streams and join my cult. We make all the old people fight each other to the death.